Hello there and welcome back to Plow and Pantry. I'm Alicia and today I'm outside. It's cold, it's sunny, so I had to come out, but it is still cold. It's like 39 degrees right now and I'm doing some winter sowing and I thought I'd bring you along. I only do a little bit of winter sowing. I'm not a huge winter sower, and I have to say the first time I ever saw winter sowing done was like 5 years ago, and someone was like cutting apart milk jugs. I'm sure you've seen this if you're familiar with winter sowing. Cut apart the milk jugs, putting stuff in there, putting it back on, duct taping it, drilling holes in the bottom for drainage. I was like, I'm really not interested in that. Too much work for me for the winter. In addition to that, I don't have milk jugs lying around. We don't do that much milk, and it's when I do, it's like a half gallon, not a full gallon. So I just kind of wrote it off until about 2 years ago, maybe 3, I think it was 2. I came across a lady on YouTube who was doing it with Ziploc bags and just making little nips with scissors in the sides and bottom. And I was like, well, now I could do that. And that opened the whole new world to me of looking at containers differently for winter sowing. Since then, I've seen people do it in like big plastic storage tubs, the clear ones, and put regular pots in there and just have it like a little greenhouse around there. But what I have come to love are produce clamshells. You want a clear container, whatever you use, and you need to have drainage holes in the bottom and a way for moisture to get in the top, but you do need a top that can give it almost like a greenhouse type effect. These are actually these are strawberry ones. They're about 4.5 inches deep. My favorite ones, I actually don't have any on hand today, but those are the grape containers from Costco. They're much deeper is why I'd like them, because if you're growing something that's going to be taller, it's nice to have that extra room at the top. So for this though, since I have this today, I'll just end up, when things are tall enough, by then it should be okay to leave the tops off or to transplant them out. But I have a few of these containers. It looks like I have 6 of these today, so hopefully I can get what I want to in those. If not, oh well. I've got some seeds I want to do with winter sowing. Some of them are things I have done before, and some of the things are just I want to try it and see how it does with winter sowing. And then I have some potting mix. This is wet. It's not too wet. It's not going to drip, but it's wet enough to hold together. So, and it's potting mix, not seed starting mix. Okay, seed starting mix doesn't have nutrients, and you want this to be almost like the dirt it's going into. So I'm going to fill these a little over an inch, maybe halfway across the bottom, with my potting mix here. And then we will check out the seeds I have today that I'm trying and see what I can actually get in here today. So one of the things you might want to take into consideration if you're thinking about winter sowing is that there are certain types of plants that are going to be better suited to it than others. A lot of flowers fit into this category. Anything that has to be cold striated does pretty well with winter sowing. Cold striated is when the seed needs to be exposed to cold temperatures for a certain amount of time or they won't germinate. Typically, if I buy something that has to be cold striated, I actually, when I get it home or it arrives in the mail or whatever, I store it straight into my freezer. But then in all honesty, I have to put a note on my calendar to get them back out, because I will forget that I have seeds in my freezer, even though I see them every time I open my freezer. But I go through seeds from my seed stash and I'm not thinking, oh, get some out of the freezer too. I am looking at today also doing some onions. I've never done the onions in the cold winter sowing method, but starting them from seed. I'm starting more from seed this year. I am still going to do my plants, my onion plants, because I know that works well for me at least. But I want to try some from seed too, just because there are more varieties available from seed. And I haven't had that much luck planting onions from seed in the garden. So I was thinking I would cold striate them or winter sow them and see how that works out. Ooh, there's a bit of a cold breeze coming through. Ooh. Okay, so let's start with some flowers here. I have my plant tags already out. Okay. Bunny tail grass is one of them right here. Frosted explosion grass. Bronze fennel. This was a free seed last year, but I've wanted to grow it for its just plumage for vases. Where is the tag for that? Don't see it yet. Have to sort through these. Black tip wheat. Again, this is for foliage. Come back to that one too. Dara, okay, flowering carrot. Dara I planted last year and it didn't do well for me. It's supposed to be really easy though, so I thought maybe I would plant it in winter and see how it came out. There's my bronze fennel. I swear I had these organized and then they got mixed up when I brought out my container. I also have some milkweed. I think these are actually the same. Sometimes I have noticed that swamp milkweed, and sometimes I have noticed that I think Baker Creek will occasionally, and they're not the only company that does this, but I think they will occasionally rename something the way they want to, just to make it seem like it's a new, different variety. Where's my Dara? Here it is. Okay. And my black tip wheat. Okay, so I'm going to try to get these into one. I know that's a lot for one, but I'm just going to do a little bit of each of those. I have some herbs, a couple types of dill, lemon balm. Okay, and I also have some Alexandria alpine strawberry, and I want to try that this way. I have not ever really grown strawberry from seed. I always grow the bare root plants, and I want to try it from seed. Just an experiment. That's the fun of life, right? Spinach. I have some lettuces here. I'm going to put greens in another one. I'm going to sow these pretty thick too and just use them as cut lettuces. I've got Tom Thumb lettuce. This was a free seed. The spinach here is in this envelope because this I got from a friend when I was at a seed exchange party here. Butter crunch. Okay, I have some more flowers. I have larkspur. Larkspur is one of those that needs to be cold striated. I've got some lupin. And I have, somewhere here I have lavender too. Got some lavender. I just wanted to see how that did. I grow a lot of lavender out in front, so I don't need that. So I thought it would be, and I could use that seed. It's fine if it doesn't work out. Let's see. Onions. I want to grow. I've got Australian brown here and Texas early grano to try from seed. And these are extra packets. So again, it's okay if it doesn't work out. And then I have amazing gray poppy. Poppies are cold striated type that do better if they have been exposed to cold. In fact, I have been told that you can just sprinkle their seeds on the snow and it'll do wonderfully, but I tried that last year and it didn't come up. So I think in my area, if you just leave seeds on top, yeah, they'll go down to the top of the dirt when the snow melts, but then they'll get blown away in the wind. So it doesn't really work out. Flemish antique poppy and amazing gray poppy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 piles and 6 things. Okay, awesome. Get started here. So I'm going to put these butter crunches in first. And like I said, I'm going to sow these lettuces kind of thick and use them as like a cut and come again. I might just transplant them like straight out from here into the ground without breaking them up into individual plants. Tom Thumb, these I might try to break up into plants because they're like little mini iceberg heads. But I'm still going to sow them thick and I'll just thin them later. I'm going to draw a real quick line between here and between there so that I can delineate which is what. And then spinach. Get some spinach out here. Spinach seeds are larger. A little bit easier to plant individually, but I'm again going to sow it thick. And then for these, I'm just going to sprinkle a little more dirt on top and kind of gently push down. Don't need, we don't want it too thick, especially on these thinner lettuce seeds over here. And just kind of gently tap it down. And that is one of these ready to go. Okay, let's do the onions. I haven't decided yet if I want to use these as like just green tops or if I want to try to plant these out. Onions are the same though. They don't like to be buried too deep. Put my little divider here. My Texas early grano. Now, if you watch one of my previous videos, I am kind of zone pushing with my onions this year because I am having better luck with things that are not supposed to be the ones for my area. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I am also going to try them in regular seed starting method, and I think I might try to direct sow some in a flower bed or a garden bed as well. So we will see. So these are pretty much an easy thing to just set and forget. You do have to check them occasionally and make sure that they have not dried out. But for the most part, you leave them alone. You can put these just like in one spot, but what I like to do is take them out to the part of the garden where they're going to be transplanted, if they're going to be transplanted, and keep them out there so that they get those kind of growing conditions along with their little growing time. There's not very many seeds in this little strawberry packet. Really not many at all. Okay, let's see. Dill Delight is going to go in here. Ooh, my fingers are cold. They're like frozen. I'm doing dill specifically because I feel like when I start dill from seed indoors here and then I plant it out, by the time it's time to plant it out, it bolts really fast. Like we get really hot bursts in the spring. And so I was wondering if it started itself when it's a little bit chillier and kind of did its own thing on its own schedule, if it would work out better for me. Just completely experimental. I'm going to put the dill needs a little bit more of a cover than the lemon balm and the strawberry seeds do, so I'm putting a little heavier on that side. So some of these will go out into my garden area. Some of these will go out to my cut flower. Well, what's going to be my cut flower area. Ooh, black tip wheat is a pretty large seed. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to do that a little bit thinner. I just want to see 1/4 inch deep. Okay. Wheat you typically sow thickly anyways. I'm doing a lot more experimenting this year, which is why I'm doing a lot of it in small sections just to see how it does. Just want to know how it does. Where did my dog go? He was out here with me. He likes the garden too. Okay, Dara likes to be direct sown anyways. My milkweed. To make 2 lines of this. One of my daughters has wanted to grow milkweed forever. And the first time a couple years ago that she tried to grow it, she didn't really research it and didn't know that it had to be cold striated. But milkweed is definitely one that does better if it's spent time in the cold. These are ones that when I bought her new pack, I put it straight in the freezer this year. Bronze fennel. Okay, I might have to find room for these in another, the grasses in another thing. If you've never seen bronze fennel, it's a beautiful filler. And I kind of want it for fall fall arrangements. I'm growing more flowers this year than I normally do. I have been pretty much a vegetable gardener with like flower beds in my yard. And that's like the extent of my flower gardening. I have roses on the side, stuff like that. But this year I decided to make a little area. I've started over the past few years putting flowers in the vegetable garden to attract pollinators. But I decided this year to make a whole row out near my strawberries of just flowers specifically for cutting. We'll see if we can get the poppies this year. So I'm not going to top poppies because they apparently like to be right on the top of things. And that was a partially used packet. It's a tail end. A lot of these are tail ends of packets, and so it's a good way to use them up is to experiment with them. I really hope this one comes out. I think it's beautiful. And California poppies here. These are what I'm used to from when I used to live in Southern California. These would grow all over the countryside on the grapevine, stuff like that. Okay. So I am not going to, it says to cover with 1/4 inch of soil, but I have read just about everywhere else to not cover them. Surface, so yeah. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. Okay, so then over here, let's see, I really want to try this frosted explosion grass. Lightly. Okay, so cover these really lightly. Bunny tail grass. I tried to grow this a few years ago. It did not do well for me, but I'll try it again the remainder of the packet this year. These are teeny tiny seeds, y'all. Okay, I'm running out of room. I'm actually going to skip the lavender because I have a ton of lavender. I'm going to do the lupin. These are another one that I'm hoping do well because I think lupins are beautiful. These are pelleted seeds. They look like little, you know, those little candy coated sunflower seeds. They're like different colors, and that's what they look like. They're purple. Okay, let's stick these down in there a bit and put some on top. Lightly cover. For these grasses, I'm not even really covering. I'm just adding enough to hold hold the seeds down, and I'm just tapping them in there. Okay, and then the larkspur. This is 2 packets, but they're the same type. And this is another one I had to pull out of my freezer. These are giant imperial larkspur. And I have been loving the last few years aster and stock and stuff, and I just have not had luck with larkspur, so I really want to try those. I'm also going to try as many of those as I have seeds left. I'm also going to try with inside just doing the regular, you know, the seeding trays and heat mats and all that, or whatever they need. Some of them don't need that. So that is the last one. I'm going to get these taken out. Let's see, flowers, lettuce, herbs, onions. This one fell over, hold on. Flowers. All right, so I'm going to get some of these out to the garden and some of these out to the flower garden. Okay, I am just going to sit my things right here in this raised bed. So that we can just see how they do, and they're a little bit protected from the wind blowing them over. Okay, I put my other ones that are in the flower area in this old broken seed tray. I'm upgrading all my seed trays this year, and I will do a video about that when I start my first real seeds. This is I just walked uphill to get here. This is what has been the strawberry area all through here. And I am completely ripping it out and replacing it this year due to some invasive weeds that were brought in. I'll explain it back when I do a video with that when it comes, which will be like early March. But this is the row that's going to be for cut flowers. And right here, if you can see that, blends in. The stake there, this is tightly planted tulip bulbs under here. Planted those back in November. So the rest of this row I will finish out and plant some other flowers along here that I can just cut and use for fun during the year. They should be coming up at different times too, so I can have flowers spring, summer, fall, that kind of thing. So much improvement to be done out here soon. That made me out of breath walking up there holding those, and I don't know why. It's not that steep of a hill. Anyways, heading back in because my fingers are frozen, but thanks for joining me today. Those are what I winter sowed. If I do a couple tours along the way, I'll try to stop and look at those and update you on how they're doing. And I will see you guys soon on the next video.